I decided during that period to get a motorcycle. And I actually think they're related. I didn't make the connection. I mean, I've been thinking about getting a motorcycle for about a year and a half. Because I got to be good friends with a person on the West Coast who actually hired the editor. I wrote a book, and he was the editor for the book. I'm looking for a publisher now, but it'll be fun to share it with you. I like doing it a lot. And he was a publisher for my book and also a student on meditation retreats with me. And he had a motorcycle. So he said, why don't you get a motorcycle? Next time you come to California, or get the license anyways, and next time you come to California, we'll ride around together. I thought, that sounded good. That was about a year and a half ago. I came home, I got the motorcycle manual, to pass a written test first, and I put it on my pile of things to do, where it sat for about a year. Then right at the beginning of last summer, I sort of started thinking, maybe I'm going to do this. And I hadn't said anything to Joanna about it. I drove Suri to camp, and I told Suri in the car, I'm thinking about getting a motorcycle. She thought it a little crazy.
That was the day that our retreat started, here. You drove her to camp, and then we came here and started the retreat.
So I mentioned it to her. I hadn't told Joanna about this idea. We go to camp on visiting day, and we're sitting near the lake, and Suri comes, and one of Suri's friends comes over. She sits down next to her, and she says, "Oh, I think it's so cool you're getting a motorcycle." Joanna was right there. And I hadn't even told her about it. But I must say, Joanna's been completely supportive about this. I don't actually know completely how she feels about it inside, but externally, she's been totally supportive of it. And interested when I want to talk about it, she listens. She looks at motorcycles with me a little bit. Suri said to me, then I took the test. Took the written test and got my permit. That was in September, and I wanted to take a class, because when you get a permit, at least in New York State, you can't ride a motorcycle unless someone else on a motorcycle is riding behind you. It's a learner's permit, so you can do that. You don't have to have a class, but you have to have somebody else who has a motorcycle. I don't know anybody who owns a motorcycle. I'm Jewish, So I took the test, and then I had nobody to ride with, and I just walked great. It just got more and more impatient, actually. It was a beautiful fall. September and October were beautiful. I couldn't ride. I had this thing. I wanted to ride. I made the decision I was going to do it. Now, I came up with all sorts of reasons in my head why it was such a great idea. Partly right before I finally took the test, I was in California, and this again tied to Jesse. I went to California with Jesse to look at some schools before he went away for the fall into the mountains, and I met my friend and actually rode on the back of his motorcycle, which I hadn't done before. And I was scared to death doing it. And I thought, I'm definitely going to do this. I need to compromise fears. And that seemed like a reasonable thing to do. I've got to compromise. That's a good thing. I need to compromise fears. And I didn't make the connection that I needed to do something, and relate. I needed some escape. No, I needed to compromise fears. I also thought to myself that, it's really good gas mileage. It's a really good thing to do for the environment. And I thought to myself, and it's really out of character, I don't know anybody who has a motorcycle. This is a way of really being different. Of course, when I went for the class, the motorcycle class, it's all guys my age, right? Motorcycles. I sort of thought this was a unique thing to do. It's out of character. And what makes all this relevant is that I did go through the whole, I went through this process, except for the beginning there where I didn't make this connection to what was going on with Jesse. I sort of knew that was not all true, all those things. Because there was, this is a little bit, I think somebody asked a question, Norman, there's a place where there is a little bit more persistent level of mindfulness. It doesn't mean I do everything that my highest self thinks I should be doing, but I know I'm not doing it. And there is a level of just being awake moment to moment, including when I'm tripping up or when I'm kidding myself or having an argument. there is more and more, there's a watching going on. And that's actually, it's not what makes it so relevant for the talk, although it does. It makes everything I do in my life more relevant, because I'm just, mistakes or not, I'm just sort of constantly learning and watching and seeing how I'm doing the things that I'm teaching about, and so mindfulness is what makes the whole experience a positive experience. So I knew it wasn't all, I knew not all those things were true. When right after I got the license and before I started driving, I was driving with Suri to school, and that was the fall, and she said, Dad, you know why you're getting a motorcycle? I said, why? She said, it's a midlife crisis. I said, yeah, well, of course, that's true. I knew that's also, it's not that I didn't have that understanding. So I told her that was true. And she thought it was a terrible idea. She said, really dangerous, you shouldn't do that. So I signed up for this class, and the closest, it's a 2-day class, and if you do the class successfully, you get your motorcycle license, and you have to take the test. So I thought. So I signed up for this test, but the closest 2 days I can take is like 6 weeks away. So I'm really impatient about it. I signed up for a 1-day class. I did a 2-hour lesson, so I did actually finally get to ride after a few weeks. And that was fun, and it was exciting, and I was sort of all into it. But just sort of watching the level of impatience. I haven't ridden a motorcycle for 55 years, so what's all the impatience? So sort of watching that, just how the mind, makes us crazy. And I'll just get the best points out here. So finally the time for the class came. I took this 2-day class, and I walked into the class about a minute before class was supposed to start, and the first thing the teacher said to me was look who's cutting it close, or something. So I was like, oh, come on, I'm here. What are you saying? This class hasn't even started, I wasn't even late, and she was already saying something about it. She was, over the course of the 2 days, I watched all sorts of judgment arise about this person. But again, with this whole level of watching what was going on, because the classroom part of the class was actually, I don't have trouble with the classroom part. But getting out on the range, it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And there were 2 teachers there. The guy I did the hour with, I don't know, he was really sweet, and somehow the whole thing was fun. But we got out on the range, and these 2 teachers, and especially the one who was teaching, one was just on the range, but the one who had said that to me in the class already, everything I did wrong, she was just staring there at it and saying, hey, you can't do that. That's terrible. And it was so infantilizing. It's like I felt terrible. The whole 2 days was really completely torturous. First of all, I felt really bad because I couldn't do it so well. That made me feel bad. And I realized pretty clearly that in my life, now it's no surprise that when you can't do something well, you have aversion, so then you don't do it. So in my life, I just don't do things I can't do well. So I mostly say I don't have the experience that much. But I sort of here while I was in the class, I wanted to do it, and so I was feeling bad, and I could watch as those bad feelings were there too. I certainly could watch more and more judgment come about the teacher, but I sort of could tell that this was going on for me, and I came home pretty dispirited. I actually told Siri about it in the 2 days between the class, and I said, it's really hard, maybe I shouldn't do it. And she said, oh, you shouldn't stop doing it just because it's hard. She doesn't think I should ride a motorcycle, but she certainly caught that, that's not really stop doing it. And I thought that was true. And every time we take a break, so my whole body would get tense doing it, and I'd get nervous, before each time I was the one who would be on the course. And some of the things I could do just fine, but there were definitely things I couldn't do so well. And I watched my excitement about the idea of riding a motorcycle fade.